Hello, I'm an old guy and I do maths. Today we're going to look at cost as a linear function and how we graph that. So you should be by this stage familiar with the general equation of the graph of a line, y equals mx plus c. And this is our gradient. This is the x variable, and this is the constant. So how do we translate this into a function that allows us to calculate cost and to graph it? Well, we need to look at what cost involves, and there are two types of cost. There's a fixed cost, which is a cost that never changes, and an example of that might be something like a fee that you pay to access a service, such as, say, a plumber. So a plumber might have a call-out charge, which is, let's say, $50, and an hourly rate. Okay, now that $50 is a fixed cost to you, and the other type of cost is a variable cost, and the variable cost in that example would be the hourly rate of the plumber, so it's the interaction of these two which gives us an equation that looks like this, and an equation, therefore, that we can graph. Now, another common example is the taxi cab example, where you have a fee once you get into a taxi. I have no idea what they are, so I've made up a number. We'll say $3. It's called the flag fall, where I come from, and you pay that. That charge arises the minute you get in the cab. And then there's a cost per kilometre or per mile. I'm using kilometres. Again, I don't know what it is, but for convenience sake, I've said 50 cents. So no matter how far you go, you pay this. Depending on how far you go, you pay in units of this. Right. So let's see how that translates into the idea of a linear function and how we graph that. Okay, so here we are. I've set up a graph. Along the bottom I've got kilometers. Up here I've got our cost in dollars. Now, relating to the taxi cab example, if we go no distance in that taxi cab, we pay $3. And the costs go up half a dollar, 50 cents per kilometre that we travel. So our cost function can be written like this. Now, x is the variable here, which I've written as k in this, so it's kilometres. So this changes depending on how far you go. This is, in linear terms, it's our gradient, but it is the variable cost. So it's the cost that changes according to how many kilometres you do. This is the fixed cost, the constant. Okay, so that gives us our equation. So let's have a look at what the graph looks like. So if we do 1 kilometre in this taxi cab, what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 times 0.5, which is 0.5, plus 3, which gives us 3.5. So it's $3.50. If we do 4 kilometres, we're going to do 2 lots of this, which is $1, and $3, which gives us $4. All the way out to, shall we say, 5. So I'll write this in. Cost, which is sometimes just written as C, is equal to 0.5 times 5, that's the 5 kilometres, plus 3. Now 0.5 times 5 is $2.50, So that's 5 lots of 50 cents plus 3, which gives us $5.50. So $5.50 on here will be at this point here. So this is 5 kilometers, $5.50. And these can be written as coordinates. Now, if I've done a halfway decent job, I've got myself a straight line graph. And what can we read from this graph? Well, using a gradient function, so figuring out what the gradient of this is. So if we take the example here where we've got 1 and $3.50, we can work out the gradient of this line, which I can promise you is 0.5, but you can do this. It's just rise over run. The gradient of this line that we get from these 2 points, or this point and this point, whatever, it is 0.5, so that tells us something. It also tells us what our minimum cost will be. And that's important. And once you have an understanding of this, it's possible to move on to more complicated variations, like how do you choose between 2 taxi companies? Where do your costs of providing a service reach a break-even point with the money that you're earning from providing that service? So those will be the next videos in this particular little series, and they'll all be in the playlist. But this is where you start. You start with how you create an equation of cost from information about fixed and variable costs, and it's very simple once you get into the swing of it. Okay, so the next thing we'll look at is when you've got a choice of taxi companies. So that'll be the next video. Thanks for watching. See you later.